Yo dog, Kenny Boucher here, next level painting, hitting you up. I'm the literal best of all days, coming to you from the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California. We're doing it again. First off, sorry, and I apologize. We didn't have content last week. I mismanaged my time, had a couple of guests over, took on a few new responsibilities. I'm smoothing that out. That shouldn't happen again. Now an explanation. We are actually going to be working on the owlbear. Now we worked on this last year. Army Painter on deck with the new D&D pigments and miniatures. I want to close out that project with the Army Painter system. 2019 is going to be remembered for intermediate content. Now this is going to be a system that's not as intermediate. This is more of our basic stuff, our beginner's guides. We're going to be deploying a dry brush and a wash technique, but I really want to put an exclamation point on the season 1 content. Catch us up to right now and focus more on intermediate techniques like glazing, pin washing, and not really relying on some of the cheat codes that we've been popularizing on this platform for years. We have hundreds of videos that explain that. You can go back to any day. You can even check me out on Patreon. But I want to move forward from that. But let's lock this down. Army Painter has an amazing system. I've been using their products for years. The best washes in the game. So we're going to just bang it down. And we're going to try to talk about it in a more concise way to finalize that first chapter of our content. Thank you guys for continuing to support this channel wherever you watch it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. Can't do it without you guys. 2019, here we come. All right, guys, let's do this. Owl bear on deck, aka parrot bear. Cacao. So we're gonna do it real quick. Dry brush 101. We've got many videos covering this. Let's try to cover it concisely. We're gonna get some white on the tip of this rounder brush. I don't like the flat chiselly brushes. This is an older brush. It's kind of round and soft. Now what we're going to try to do is dry up all the paint. I'm using a paper towel. I'll use my paper, my cardboard, anything I can get my hands on. We're trying to basically get all the liquid to leave the bristles and just have the pigment remain. You can go as dry as you want. You can even go kind of wet. But what we're trying to do is go against the grain, top down, which is where the light would come from, using very light brush pressure. Try to go the same direction with each stroke. If you do this right, then the pigment that is very dry now because you absorbed it is going to be left on the ridges, anything raised above a recess. You can see how those feathers are catching that white. Now this is pretty aggressive, kind of extreme. Now there is a time and place to highlight all the feathers. That day is not this day and that time is not now. So we're just going to go through, pop them all out. You can see they're taking on a nice clean white effect. Now we did some pretty aggressive airbrushing on this model in line with the Army Painter system. The cool thing about Army Painter is it's about locking in the colors and then using their amazing wash formula. You can use other techniques like the dry brush. You can do a pretty solid 1-2 punch, get the army, get the models on the tabletop, and there he is. Now we're going to jump into the wash game. We're going to use blue tone and flow improver. Now I use a lot of flow improver on the paints when we airbrush. Now that shows you how airbrushable this entire line is and how they fit in the next level painting system. You could take that same flow improver, thin down your wash, even use a little flow improver kind of unfucked with to reach into to help disperse some of this wash. Now the objective here is to get the wash to settle in the recesses without staining anything we just did. Now, obviously, it's all over the place. Washing is typically when used this way, there's many ways to use it. This is kind of all over, a little uncontrolled, but the purpose is to dry opaque where it settles, okay? Now, by thinning it down, kind of staying on top of it, dispersing it, we can achieve that goal. Now, we're going to jump into purple tone. Army Painter has a robust line of different color washes. You don't have to just do the old strong tone all over everything. Now you see I'm using that technique. I'm using a little raw dog flow improver to help thin out the pigment that I already have on the brush. What we're trying to do is thin it out. We don't want it to stain on any of the flat surfaces, and we're going to just stay in motion, kind of manipulate it, add a little bit of flow improver when we need to. Maybe we'll even, go back in, absorb some of the liquid off our bristles and use it as a sponge to pull some out of the recesses. At the end of the day, you want the wash on the flat surfaces to be transparent, and you want the wash in the crevices to be opaque. That's your goal. What this will do is generate contrast by creating dark lines, but also will smooth out any of your blends. Now the cool thing about the airbrushing is it didn't need any smoothing. So almost disregard the fact that we airbrushed this model. We could have literally just painted it blue, dry brushed it, just painted it purple, dry brushed it. Disregard that. The airbrush literally doesn't need help being smooth. What needs help being smooth is the aggressive dry brushing technique we just deployed. They're kind of aggressive. They're maybe a little too white. Maybe they got a little streaky in some areas. By being a little transparent over the flat areas, this will smooth it out, blend them together, and kind of knock it down a notch. This type of washing will always knock it down a notch, which is why we always talk about going to 11. Take it to 11 before you wash it back down to 10. Now, once you're done washing, picking out the good colors, of which there are many from Army Painter, you can actually sit there and take a look at your model and be happy with it, or you can continue to work on it, start popping out those edges. You literally can go as hard as you want. We have hundreds of videos in the archive covering this. Like I said in the intro, I just want to cover this one more time for the road. Now that we're going to be leaving all this content behind and moving toward more advanced systems where we don't really use wash in this traditional way. See, now we're using the purple. We're even letting some of the purple mingle with the blue. They're close enough that they can do the same thing together. They can blend together a little bit. But you got to think, this isn't about grabbing one Nolan oil or one Earthshade from GW, just washing everything. These guys created a whole line of colors. Use them when appropriate, and even mix them together when you feel like maybe that's what you need to do, just like any paint. And don't forget, washing is still a technique. Now, thanks to Army Painter, they've created a formula to make the technique easier and market it as a quick shade mixing medium, a quick shade medium, or a quick shade wash. At the end of the day, you got to use light brush pressure. You got to let the wash transfer from the tip of your brush. You have to watch it disperse into all the crevices and wick it away from any flat areas. Now, you could be lazy about this and you could just slap it on there and let gravity do what it do. But that's how you get those coffee stains. That's how the model looks like shit, essentially. You almost can't do anything about a big ass pool of wash dried up on a section. That is going to create texture. It's going to create a weird shine that even varnish isn't going to take away. I strongly recommend staying on top of your game. Here on the beak, we actually did just pull out an old classic, some strong tone from the Army Painter. It's one of the best. Just throw it on the beak, let it ride in his mouth. You see, it helps shift it, find the crevices, give us a little contrast that we didn't have. Guys, it is a beginner technique, dry brushing and washing, but there are so many layers to it that you can still improve your game even today. We're going to use a little Militae shader. It's a dark green. We're going to throw some right in with the kind of our purplish blue mix. Going to green it up. And we're just going to deploy this on the things that we made green, like his talons and his feet, so they can look real good. Super easy. Light brush pressure. Help it transfer. There's a big difference between paint strokes where you're pressing and light brush pressure. God, that's a hard word to say. Where you're just letting it transfer to the model and you're letting the shape and the three-dimensionality of the model take on the wash. And then you're just manipulating it to move around. I strongly encourage you guys practice the technique, because even if you painted all your models this way, they'd look really good. You still have the opportunity to grow using our Season 2 content, more advanced content. This technique does not invalidate any other technique. We can still pop out the edges with edge highlighting. We can still glaze in a couple of new colors. This will get you playing your models faster and looking better. Definitely check out the Army Painter, guys. Play on, players. If you like these tutorials, check out Next Level Painting on Patreon. Become a patron of the arts today. We offer early and exclusive access to our videos and a rewards program for different pledge levels. Patreon is PayPal and credit card secure, so you don't have to worry about that. We use 100% of the money to improve our process.